Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I just learned a valuable lesson. If you don't provide a bio, they're going to copy and paste from your LinkedIn, and they're going to read exactly what was there. But thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here with this group of innovators here, and this is a session that I love to do. I've been to far too many meetings, maybe not too many. I think it's really important, but at these types of meetings, you'll often see on the stage the investors who will share with everybody in the audience what they're looking for. Very important for us all to know. We'll have lineups of strategics who will share what kind of deals they're looking for, right? And we need all this information. And I think that we have a gap in the opportunities for us to bring the innovators up here who are actually doing the work and out there taking action to share what it is that they're doing, but also what they look for when they're looking for partners. And it's a really unique time right now. It's a challenging climate. I've shared this in the past that my heart is with everybody that's here. I love the MedTech ecosystem. I love what we do collectively. But when it comes down to it, my heart's with this group because they're the ones, in my view, that are taking the real chances out there. And so I'm with you all the way. And the focus here is just to talk generally about what's going on in the environment, what you're seeing. We have a diverse group of technologies. So what I thought we'd do is we'll start with Berk. We'll work our way back. And if you could just introduce yourself and talk about your company, where you're at right now. We'll go brief, and then we'll get through the details down the line.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott, for having us up here. It really is nice to see how you've become a partner of the startups that we're all a part of. My name is Berk Tas. I'm the CEO of SentiAR. We're focused on, our current development is focused in electrophysiology, and we're developing an augmented reality platform for holographic guidance, real-time guidance. I know it's a mouthful of what I'm saying, just a quick explanation of what it is. It allows the physician who's operating in the heart, it's a minimally invasive procedure, allows them to see the heart in 3D in real time with the catheters inside, so they're able to navigate more accurately and more efficiently. That's our product, that's what we're up to. Thanks again, Scott.
I'm Abtihal, Raji-Kubba. I am President and CEO of Empress Medical. Empress Medical is a women's healthcare company. Though my background is nothing to do with women's healthcare, the prevalence of the condition was truly an eye-opening discovery for me and got me immediately hooked with the company. The company had already developed the product and ran a first-in-human study in Dominican Republic where they showed a proof of feasibility of the treatment. Unlike the other treatments that are out there, starting with there are very few options for women with uterine fibroids to start with. For younger women, especially women who want to preserve their ability to have children, the option to have children, there are practically, if there are any options, they are not great. Empress Medical is a game changer in the sense that it introduces a very simple technology. However, the principles of it are very innovative. It doesn't involve any thermal energy, no risk associated with any major surgery, no dissection. So it's truly compared to the other, I'm not being biased, truly I did that homework myself. Truly compared to the available options, it is, we hope to show that it is one of the safest options that will become to women. I believe we owe it, it's a health public issue. I believe we owe it to ourselves, to women, our generation, younger, and the upcoming generations of women. I hope that you will, tomorrow when we present, I hope you will see that we've made some progress in it. We plan to stay the course here. It's different. Everyone says, where's your energy? How are you going to do this? We're sticking with the simple approach as being the safest and also the easiest to adopt by gynecologists.
Wonderful.
Very cool.
Fantastic. Scott, thanks again for having us. My name is Bryan. I'm the CEO of Pristine Surgical. We make single-use endoscopes, and our mission is to simplify endoscopy. And we do that really with 2 tools in our tool chest. First, we make single-use scopes, as mentioned, and we put those into a single-use kit, so sterilized at the factory, and ship them to our customers. And then we complement that with a cloud-based software platform, so hardware and software, the 2 tools that we use. We have a couple of aspects to the software side. One, we manage our inventory through what we call our Pristine Connect platform. 2, we integrate a whole host of value-added services. And then 3, we actually facilitate the conversations with our sales force through our Pristine Connect platform as well. So simplifying endoscopy, basically we make procedures faster, we make visualization better, and we lower costs. So it truly is a faster, better, cheaper option for our customers.
Thank you again.
Yep.
My name is Carolina Aguilar. I'm the CEO of INBRAIN Neuroelectronics, and we are creating the first worldwide high-density and high-resolution intelligent neural system based on graphene. And it is a platform that we are starting with for Parkinson's disease, but we have also a partnership with Merck to enter into bioelectronics in the very systemic conditions like anti-inflammation. And in the last year from Series A, which was a significant raise for the European market, $17 million, we were able, with this money, to actually prove the potential of the material in small animals, in large animals, and now our next step is the first in human in cortical early next year.
That's great. So we've got a diverse group of technologies, and I think in terms of stages of development, there's a mix here. But the one thing that we all have in common, that you all have in common, is that you're growing companies during challenging times. And it's not easy, even in the best of times. So we just come out of COVID. We have financial situations which are don't make things challenging. And I'll steal a quote from Andy Grove, which you've all heard, but it's that bad companies are destroyed by crisis. Good companies make it. But really good companies can thrive from it. And there's a reason that you've all been invited here. We really admire what it is that you're working on and the leadership and the path that you're taking. So maybe I've made it sound worse than it is. So I'm just going to start there. How tough is it out there? What is the climate like? And we'll work back again. What's the climate like? Am I overblowing it, or is it challenging?
I don't think you're overblowing it. Look, raising capital is tough to begin with. It's hand-to-hand combat, right? And it doesn't always go the way you like. It rarely does. And it requires entrepreneurs to be very creative. And you know, you have the attention of a potential, whether it's venture capital or someone with money who's interested in your company. You have their attention for a short amount of time, and they're inundated with other stories. So it's hard as it is, and I think what's happened now is a lot of the alternative capital that came into early stage funding has come out due to the market situation, what happened with the stock markets, and alternative investments have gained more traction. Like, some people are weighing, should I put my money in venture or should I buy more gold? So there's some of these alternative investments that was in or crossover funds, and they're taking a step right now. So the short answer I would say is it's you didn't overblow it out of proportion, but it also provides opportunity, because the people you're working with, the potential investors you're speaking to, are actually in it for the real reasons that you're in it. So it reduced the opportunity, but if you're able to find them, they're looking for deals too, and they want to work with amazing companies. Yes, they're more selective. There's no doubt about that. But if you're able to get yourself, it requires some differentiation from the crowd, then what I found is you're working with real believers who are in this for the long haul. They've seen the cycles. They understand this is going to come and go. They're not panicking, and they believe in your technology or your company, as opposed to someone, I got extra money, I'll just throw it in. So I think you put it really well. I don't know if I would put it as good, great, bad. I'd probably say, like, if you're willing to put the work and effort, and if you truly believe in what you're doing, and if you have customers who believe it, then I think it's not as bad as it sounds.
I'll point out, a year ago, I had an investor say, I'm not interested in medtech because I'm investing in Bitcoin. Now I hear for the first time, I'm not interested in medtech because I'm investing in gold.
Yeah, yes.
That's in a year span, right? I mean, some of
Yes.
that is also quite tumultuous.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
I think I'm hearing a lot more questions about, maybe a lot more in-depth conversations about, which is a reflection of how selective I think investors have become about, well, tell me more, why does this matter? Just a lot more deeper conversations. So more time explaining what we're doing. I wouldn't say it's a hesitation as much as the investors themselves are investing less, so they're being more selective about where they're investing. So you're getting multiple layers of questions about the same thing. And in the end, at least what I've experienced personally is that the believers in what you're doing will come through, and they may ask twice. Maybe it's taking them longer the second round, but if they truly are believers in what you're doing, they'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
So we're fundraising too, so I won't gloss over that, but I'll take a slightly different twist and talk about supply chain challenges. So you talk about a little bit of diversity on the panel. We're perhaps a little later stage. We're ready to launch in the tail end of Q4, so we're ready in the supply chain. We've got single-use devices, which means you've got to procure a lot of components in order to be able to ship and sell those single-use kits. So we're seeing a lot of challenges there. I mean, certainly that's not overblown in terms of that. We've been fortunate in that we've been out ahead of the curve on that. To mitigate that, we made a really substantial buy of some of the critical components, and we hired supply chain expertise that really has helped us, I think, differentiate some internal capability in that way, but also obviously mitigate the substantial risk there. So you put those two things together. Look, I've had multiple conversations today with prospective investors, and what they want to know is, well, okay, classic sort of question, use of proceeds and the like. And one of the things I like to point out, speaking as Berk had mentioned about opportunity, I think capital likes to see that there's a direct correlation between the dollars that come in, if you will, and the impact that those can make. So I think part of the pitch to an investor is, listen, if you've extinguished technology risk, if you've extinguished regulatory risk, if you believe strongly in the market, which we do, that wants the product that we're developing, you can make a differentiation in terms of balance sheet strength and then go be competitive in the marketplace to go get those components. So good news is we know exactly where all the parts are. We know how to get them. Bad news is lead times are extraordinarily long, so you got to be out ahead of that. That takes balance sheet strength to be able to get. And last point is that, believe it or not, there's flippers, if you will, that are squatting on components and then marking them up triple in commodity, components, or at least commodity components that in the normal times you would expect to be that way. Suggestions are that all around the industry that the supply chain is starting to repair and fix itself as it is known to do. So there's some proverbial green shoots there, but it is a real challenge, and we've been facing it head on.
Thank you.
In our case, we were founded in 2020, so our life has been always hard, and that's great because that's the path. And at the end, we had to raise during COVID times by Zoom. We had to hire during COVID times by Zoom. And knowing that the purpose is common for investors and entrepreneurs, which is saving lives, and knowing that we are here to do something more difficult and more innovative than where it exists, at the end, our responsibility is find the path within the challenge, and make sure that you build enough options and plans A, B, C, D, E, so at the end, you have a solution for the challenge you are facing.
Right.
So there's no other way.
Yep. Okay. Very good. So let's get into it. Berk and I had a talk in the hall. I'm going to do it here, Berk. All right. We're going to be careful because we're all friends here. Okay. We're all friends here. We had a nice chat this morning with Dr. Bernd Montag, and we talk about big problems that are out there and what do we go after. We hear from investors, we hear from strategics on what they're looking for. So I'd like to start it this way, and let's make this an open conversation. We can just, if you have something you have a burning desire, you can jump in. What do you look for in investors? What does this group look for in their board, in their partners? We hear everyone talking about the ideal entrepreneur and CEO. What's an ideal partner for you, whether it's an investor or a board member? What are you looking for?
So I look for complementary vision in a way that I might miss something that these people can bring to my attention so I can evaluate it. I bring people that are constructive. This is a very long journey. So if you have painful boards, it's not helpful. We're here for the 5 to 10 years long way. So I need people that can build, not destroy it. And I need challenge as well. So I don't mind toughness. I don't mind having healthy conflict. But at the end, we have to find a common way where this is successful. So I think it's very important at the board that we also work on our self-awareness, that people don't come with their egos, and we come with humbleness and the purpose of solving the challenges, and that there's a good fit of personalities that actually makes a healthy and proactive board. And I wouldn't take, and this sounds a little bit arrogant, but even if I would need all this money, I wouldn't take it from someone that wouldn't bring that to the board, because at the end, that's what's going to destroy eventually the company. Or you get fired and then it's solved, right? But in an ideal way, that's what I would look for.
So the big bag of money is not an automatic entry into the fund.
I mean, with the other things, right? Because otherwise, what is this life for if you have to be in pain all the time in all these boards?
Yeah. We're going to build up to the grand finale. And what are you guys looking for?
Yeah, look, personal experience. I was in the semiconductor industry for a portion of my career, and we had, in the particular startup that I was part of senior management, we had $5 billion funds. The board dynamic, as it turns out, was quite toxic. You had competition basically widthwise amongst the funds. You had this sort of reporting kind of dynamic and this sort of what have you done for me lately kind of scenario, and it was problematic for the company's functionality. I mean, we're building an enterprise, and I think the easiest way for me to say it is an investor who wants to grab an oar, who recognizes that the competition is out there in the marketplace, that capital has a critical role to play, obviously, in the building of the enterprise. It provides fuel, mix your metaphors as you wish, but basically get in and let's help us move forward. And there's it's not about reporting. It's not about IRR targets that are being hit. It's ultimately about digging in and developing a differentiated enterprise. And if you want to do that together, and we'd love to take the money and then row in the same direction. Yeah.
I think for me, someone who brings in expertise is really critical, because basically we're getting I'd say free advice, but most importantly, the lens they are seeing things through and they're judging and making comments is something that is exactly what we need. So they bring that to the table. But I think I'll never say no to more money, but I will say it. I say I don't want someone to reluctantly kind of come in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and want to fund the company, because at the end of the day, we're on a mission. We will have our ups and downs, and we are looking for people who will be supportive. We will do the hard work. We believe we know what we're doing. Challenge us at a healthy level. In fact, that's the best thing you could do for us, is challenge us, but for the purpose of elevating our game, not for the purpose of doubting what we're doing. So I think I look at the board as the people who are part of the team. Their roles are slightly different, but they need to be part of the team. I would not want to see them differently.
Yeah, well said, very good.
I'll try to add, there's a lot of this stuff is already said. I'll try to add to it. I think for me, I feel like the best experiences I've had in my past has been with investors who have empathy, who care about the customer you're trying to serve. They have a level of understanding of the patient population or the physicians that we serve, and or curiosity about it. So everyone's trying to make money, and I won't take anyone, I won't judge anybody for that. That's fair and that's fine. We're in a capitalistic market. That's appropriate. I think, to me, the most successful way to do that and to partner with someone is a customer obsession. And what I found the most value is you have an investor who is also obsessed in your customer, who cares about them deeply. They don't have the time to learn everything about them, but they care about it. And they have the questions around the customer and how you serve them. Because I believe, and I've seen this work out, I do believe if you serve your customer, the patient or the physician, you're going to be successful, right? And then there's other customers like the administrators and how you charge, the economics. We all know that, there's spreadsheets to do. There's a lot of grinding work to do. And that all, look, we're all here. We kind of know how to do that, right? That's kind of pay to play. You don't get to do this if you don't know how to do that. So I don't necessarily worry that much about it if they have an opinion. I'd rather have you do the budget this way or that way. I don't really care. I'm fine either way, but let's serve the customer. And that, to me, is the best partnerships, that people who care about it. And I think what's hard, for me at least, is when you have people who want to go into a field, who want to appear as though they understand it, and they got money, but they don't really understand the customer. Mm-hmm. They don't get it at all. And as an entrepreneur, it's really easy at times for me to agree with an egregious opinion about how to serve that customer that they don't know anything about. And that's where I think the rubber meets the road. For you have to say before, look, that's not how that works, right? We can learn the customer, I can teach you, or you can go out, but you're not on the right track, or at least we're not in agreement. I think that's where the rubber meets the road. I won't say no to an investor, but I think it's an alignment situation. Are you aligned on the mission or not?
Yeah. Look, the spotlight, the first word in the description is leadership, right? And I think that a lot of times in the early stages of our careers, we think about boards as being kind of in this parenting sort of role, right? That you sort of got a report card and that, you got your monthly check-ins and how you doing on all of your, KPIs and the like. And I think that's not leadership to think about the organizational structure in that way. That's really delegating to folks that are a degree of separation away from, as you mentioned, the customer and strategy. And to be in a mode where you're trying to, please in that environment misses the obligation of leadership. I think the whole goal is to basically set the course, have a check and balance, use, as you mentioned, the resource to check, and we all have blind spots. But ultimately, the way I think about it, in spite of the fact that you have this sort of organizational hierarchy, our job is to be the captain of the ship and to be pushing forward on that. And I think that's a common mistake for particularly early or first-time CEOs.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm asking for too much, but I do believe there's a trust relationship that has to be built between the company and the investors. And exactly just like as you explained right now, it's at the end of the day, you either trust me, I can do the job, or you don't. And that needs to be established up front. I do believe, just working with my own team, I do believe there are many things they know, and I trust them. So that relationship is just, we have to build on that model, because ultimately these are the most successful teams, no matter where you put them.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just talked about a couple things as a perfect segue. So the title, Leadership, Innovation, Raising Capital in a Challenging Market, there's a lot to do. It's a lot to do, and I often will sit back and I'll wonder, I see CEOs of these innovative companies out spending so much time raising the capital, doing the things we're doing here. But we forget sometimes that you're still running a company and you're still innovating and you still have people, you have teams that depend on you. And this morning we got to talk to Bern Montag, 60,000 plus employees. That's a big organization, but a lot of resources available to him. So it's a different challenge there. How do you do it? How do you balance it? Do you ever find yourself on the wrong side of the mix where you have to shift back? So it's a very open-ended question, and it's more of a recognition for you here. How do you do it? How do you balance it all? We'll start with Bryan.
So we were just chatting about getting on stage, right? We've all been on stage many times, and I was just saying, so you put me on the spot because you knew exactly the conversation we had in the hall. I felt terrible this morning. Like I got up and just was not on my game. I got to, give a presentation, given the presentation 100 times, and if you guys were in the audience, hopefully it didn't show, but it just was not, it didn't feel like I was on my game. So some of it is just actually kind of powering through that. Look, we're at different time zones. It was at a board meeting that I did not really think through that we wanted to keep on the schedule, but turns out I was 7 hours ahead of that with an evening board meeting a couple of days ago, so you're just upside down. So you got to put your head down and keep going, but I think you got to also give yourself a little grace and say, hey, not every presentation that you're going to give are you going to feel like you hit the bullseye each time, and you give yourself some latitude in those areas. At a different stage in my career, I might have, beaten myself up for something that clearly, I hope, nobody necessarily sort of, critiques you for that kind of stuff. Inside, you say, got something to do next. You got, staff to check in with. You got emails to return, investors to chat with, folks to meet in the lobby, and you just, keep plucking. So that's not necessarily inspirational, but I think it's practical. That there's work to do, and so you just keep powering through.
How do you do it?
Well, first, I think you have to build the culture, because otherwise the culture will by itself, right? And building the culture for me is not a top-down approach. I think culture is about trust and it's about values. So then you have to build it with the people you work with, but you have to do it. So if you forget about it, then is when trouble happens. So my biggest obsession is to have a committed group of people that share the purpose and have the culture that we have. Who we hire, who we fire, who we promote, it is very important. It has to be very diligently treated. And then, of course, as part of that, we actually build these key contributions. So we don't call them goals, because at the end it's a contribution. This is a 0-1 exam game. So either we all win or either we all lose. There's not going to be a CEO winner and a CTO loser, or So we have to build these key contributions that add up to the goals of the company, and we color code them, so we know exactly where we are, and they are public to the whole organization, so everybody can see who's red, who's green, and what we need to still do to meet those goals. So that already get us the people and the goals together. And then, of course, there's always surprises, challenges you have to deal with. But at least, that everybody knows how to behave, what are the goals, and what is the operational mechanism to get what we need. We also put all those goals in the office and online, because we're hybrid. So everybody is very clear about what are we here for and what is what we have to achieve. So that helps, because it's not me just doing it, it's everybody doing it at the same time. So I don't have to chase people, because it's all there public for everybody. So it helps for challenge management.
Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, I think at least I can say for my team, as I think like Carolina described, my team is smaller, but I mean there's clarity on what we need to do here. So there's never doubt about what is on critical path and what needs to happen. So whether I'm there or not, it's happening. Now, if you ask me practically, we're a small team. I would feel really good about helping them on a daily basis to move things along and have my hands deeper into everything, compared to going out and raising funds. However, just like I trust my team that they are executing to the plans we've agreed to, making sure everything on critical path is happening, they've entrusted me with doing this, reaching out to the investor community and making sure we have this continuity with the company. So it is, you can ask me, is it the best use of time? I have to tell you, there are days I say it's the best use of my time today, and there are days I say, oh my gosh, I need to go and help the team get over this or that. So depending on the day, I'd probably have a different answer for you. But at the end of the day, I do know both of them are important. I trust the team, they'll do what they need to do. I trust that building relationships with investors and future investors is part of the story. So we need to build that part of the team at the same time.
Want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think that one piece I would add, my personal experience, I find the teams that can do this kind of work, where the CEO's out fundraising a lot of the times, and some of the context doesn't get back to the team, because Bernd made a great point, right? He gets to speak to the president of Kenya. I don't get to speak to the president of Kenya, but I talk to the customers, I talk to investors. I have a different view of what the field wants to see. I can't download all that constantly. But what I find that helps is you hire a team that knows how to learn and makes learning a big objective. And I don't mean, they take classes or go into school or whatever. It's this mentality of there's no such thing as pass or fail. There's just a way to learn, and you learn faster than anyone else. The reason we get to do amazing things we got the FDA clearance on the world's first device for $7 million. The reason you get to do that is your people know how to learn, and they learn faster than anyone else. And there's no politics, because there's a mission to accomplish. So that is what I would add is, yes, team is absolutely important. For me, the ingredient comes from finding people who value learning, and they're not anxious about not knowing the answer. And a lot of people are. So this kind of business isn't great for everybody. I've seen people, their lives just struggle, and they're having a horrible time in a startup. Everybody else is having fun, but they're having a horrible time because the unknown is really painful for them. So I think that was the insight I would share from my personal experience, to add the color to what everyone said.
That's great. Let's add to that the whole finding people thing. We briefly talked about it this morning, about a limited amount of resources that are out there. We talked about it again in a panel today. I know that there's different models. Bryan has an interesting model, both internal and external. I'm sure we depend on people outside our organization, but how is it right now? How's the talent pool out there? Is it the same? Is it the same? Is it getting more challenging in general? How are the human resources out there? It all come back to people. We talk about so much, but it all comes back to the team and the people. How's it going out there with respect to your teams and finding new people?
So what we have done is go where the talent is and not pretend that every talented people is where we are, right? So that's the first principle. Just if they are in US, they are in US. If they are in Malaysia, they are in Malaysia. And as a result, out of the 48 people that we have people from 14 different countries working remote and on-site. Because, the world, I cannot source a team that is going to build the most revolutionary medtech from Barcelona. That would be unrealistic. So, and then you have to find these people that fit the culture you want to build, that they have the continuous learning, they have the hunger. So, the filtering gets a little bit tougher, but eventually, also with great recruiters that are here as well, you make it.
There's
right?
a few here.
Exactly. We need help. But if you know also what you want, you get it. It's just that it's not right there around the corner.
We followed a similar model. Dave, my colleague who's here, I'll borrow his phrase, we started using Zoom before using Zoom was cool. And so we had this distributed model where you basically bring on folks on your team where they are, as opposed to relocating them to the greater Boston area. We also have used a technique, this is not my phrase either, so two borrowed phrases, hire by audition. I don't know who to attribute that to, but we've used that effectively. We have found that not only with the willingness to have some geographical diversity, but a really effective way for us to have scaled over the course of the development of Pristine is to engage high-quality professionals, but on a fractional basis. So you start out, you get to know each other. You might engage as a consultant for a day a week, and maybe that's the right configuration. And you continue in that sort of in the U.S. vernacular in that 1099 kind of fashion for a period of time, and definitely, or you say, hey, we've kind of run our course on things. Oftentimes, what's happened is that those types of relationships expand, and as long as you have an open dialogue with the other party and say, listen, when we start to get to overwhelming what the engagement is and what our deal is, let's tweak it and let's adjust it. And so we've gone with folks where we've had a couple of hours a month to now full-time W-2s, and I think that's reduced the uncertainty in the sort of binary form of hiring, where you're either go through an entire interview process, and it lowers the risk around that. So. Tip, that's worked very well for us.
The only thing is that requires we also upgrade our leadership skills. I don't think it's the same to deal with what we know than with what it's new, and that is a de-learning, which is the hardest. It's harder to de-learn than learn.
I think making sure that whoever you hire understand this is not the corporate world you're moving into. This is a startup, and oh my goodness, I've seen the difference. I mean, and again, I ran.
How many years at Bard?
20 years, and Bard was decentralized, so it wasn't a large corporation. BD was a very big company. But I ran Lutonics, which was a startup we acquired by Sierra Bard, and it was a very small company. To try and integrate them into the larger corporation, you see the differences. But the only reason Lutonics was very successful is because we maintained that entrepreneurial environment, and we decided, no, we're only hiring people from startups to join Lutonics, because you've got to maintain that spirit of we're going to go out and do it. Yes, it hasn't been done, and we're going to put the hours, and we will be successful.
Yeah.
One point I will add, I'll quote Joe here, bring in force multipliers. I think that's a huge component of hiring. You got to educate your board, I think, where there's this notion of salary bands and things like that. There are boxes, and people fit in these nice boxes. And look, you're not creating a box. You're building something that no one has done. Forget about the boxes, right? Who is going to allow you to attract more talent? Who's passionate about your vision? Obviously, talent has to be there. And you're going to pull these people from a different job, right? So I think we as CEOs need to go to bat and say, I don't really care about, not in this way, do it far more elegantly, but your bands or whatever you have on your mind, forget those, and understand that we're building something that when you put it 1, you're going to get 3, 5, 8 in return, and those people are going to attract other talented people. Because look, talented people want to work with talented people.
Yeah.
Period.
I think I like that phrase, the force multiplier. I think that's exactly right. Equally important are doers. There's no opportunity for middle management. Really no opportunity for upper management in a lot of ways. When you look at having to build your own slide decks, it's just
100% agree.
Stuff that needs to be done, right?
Yes.
And so, if you have people that are interested in hierarchy and structure and delegation and reporting, that's not consistent with hustle, with doing. And I think that DNA to me is far more important. It doesn't matter background. Look, we love to have folks come in from as we have Stryker and Medtronic and others. But the common thread is, there's no ceremony. There's but get stuff done, and that means rolling up your own sleeves. Right?
I always think of it like a SEAL team. It's very focused, very small, but even the medic knows how to go to battle.
Yeah.
So it's not the the army ship where there's an army cook and that's what they do. You can't have that in a startup. You got to have people who are specialized, understand the mission, have been training their whole lives. Even if you bring a junior person, right? They've been living, they've been growing, they know how to learn, and they're part of that mission. They can pick up a shovel when the time comes.
Yeah, that's good to say.
Very good. So I want to end with something practical. I've been joking since last night a little bit with the Sophie Nova conversation that we had. They have 2.5 billion assets under management. And we've got 100 companies here that are raising about 2.5 billion. We talk about, money comes in, what do we get out? You've all been invited here because you're incredible innovators, and we really believe in what you're doing here. And so we know that you're going to achieve your goals. We can jump in, whoever wants to jump in first. Let's be practical here, what's your current capital raise situation, and where does it get the company? You get what you're going for today, where can it take your company? What does an investor see in your development?
Yeah. So we have 1 more year of cash, so we wanted to get the right people on board. And with that, we are going to put graphene in the brain of a human being for the first time in the world. So we know that that's going to bring the material to the next level. We already know the potential and what it gives us and the safety that it brings. So it's very exciting to see it in action in helping someone with a tumor, for instance, in our case, and also subcortically. So that's the only thing we are focusing on bringing that first in human in.
Right.
Yeah, so we're raising a $10 million extension on our current round. That will accelerate our platform expansion. So I mentioned that we're launching an arthroscopy, but we already have a single-use laparoscope as well as a single-use flexible platform that's under development. And so we can modulate a bit, in terms of applying new capital to platform expansion. But that will accelerate basically our moves into those additional new markets. And so that's a priority for us right now because we think that's a competitive advantage. So if we were to be sticking to our knitting and thinking as sort of a one-trick pony, if you will, and a single product company, we'd be thinking a whole lot more conservatively about capital raising. Now, that might be what's called for, it seems, in this crazy capital raising environment. But we also think, look, there's reports are $270 billion of capital that's sitting allocated from the limited partners. It's sitting in the hands of general partners throughout all sectors, right, in the marketplace. And that capital, needs to find a home by the same token. So it's a strange, dynamic. I think if you tell a story that's a compelling story and you're committed to that sort of vision, there is, on the flip side of this challenging capital raising environment, the numbers are real. There's a lot of capital there. And so that's a strange duality that we find ourselves in here at the tail end of 2022. So, our mission is to do both. It's to be sort of judicious, but then also, show the vector that we're headed to. And I think that investors want to see a big vision at the same time.
Thank you.
We're raising 10 million Series A, 5 million of it is committed, and what that will do will actually get the product approved and available to female patients out there. That will take us through the IDE de novo clinical trial and FDA approval.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for one thing, if I don't get a chance. Thanks for also putting together a diverse panel, women and men. I appreciate that. I have a daughter,
Absolutely.
and I've been more interested in this topic lately. I should probably have been always, but I have a
Come on, get on it, Berk.
Get on it. So I wanted to thank you.
My pleasure.
We're raising up to 6. We're at 4.2 right now, and by the time we're done spending the money we raised, we will prove that people use what we developed and they buy it. We're targeting 30 centers initially, and we'll have more publications to clearly articulate the benefits we provide. And then the next step from there either is going into M&A or raising a scale round with multiple partners.
Very good. Well, I want to thank all of the CEOs up here who are out there innovating, making the world a better place. Thanks for, the event is you. The event, the content is all of you that are out there taking chances. It's an honor to be on stage with you. I want to encourage everybody to get to know these CEOs more, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Scott.
Thank you,
Scott.
Thank you, Scott.